guys, let's go over this intake. I took this off for two reasons. Okay, everybody that goes to the junkyard is going to be looking for a Ford PI intake, or if they're buying new, they're buying a Ford PI intake. Very seldom will anybody buy a Dorman doing a PI swap. So I wanted to keep the results of my swap as accurate as possible. Second of all, if you notice the silicone here and the bolt broke here, it just wasn't secure that great. Now, my PI intake had broke here, and all I did was cut it off, drilled and tapped it, and put a barb fitting in there, and it works just fine. The cross runner on the front of these Dormans are not exchangeable, so you will have to drill and tap the other one on the PI intake. But I originally tried to swap this over, and it does not. Also, the old style Dorman is the one with these skinny runners that go over. If you look at these are fat. It is pretty thick, and the opening is the same exact size as the PI intake. They are not smaller. That's a fat, wide runner. Now, see, the bottom is nowhere near as big as the PI, and that's where the PI shines. So, with that being said, I have seen results where people, my friend took one off of a NPI Crown Vic. Okay, he went with the PI Ford Racing intake, and he only gained like 2 horsepower and 4 foot-pounds of torque, or 4 horsepower and 2 foot-pounds of torque, something like that. But what I think he was looking at was peak numbers, because even this is pretty much mimic. This is a plastic, pretty much like the Edelbrock. That's just how the Edelbrock intake runs. So I think he was just looking at peak numbers. I've seen people in the different RPM bands, they said there was a difference of at least 20 horsepower, which I get with the low down deep. So Chris Fix did his PI intake swap. He did it with a stock upper, stock throttle body, even a stock breather box and intake tube, and still picked up 12 horsepower over stock. He dynoed it before and after. The only difference was the PI intake. So I imagine with having a bigger throttle body, cold air intake, bigger upper plenum, free flowing exhaust, all this stuff, that I could see at least 15 horsepower. I could definitely see that. So this intake, not as terrible as everybody says it is. If you're gonna be just boosting or spraying nitrous, it ain't gonna hold you back that much. Like I said, it may be different in the RPM band, but it's pretty much, when people go boosted, they usually go with the aluminum Edelbrock one, and this is like a plastic mirror of that, pretty much. It's pretty close. I just call this one the spider intake, because the old style had cross runners just like the PI, where it went from one side over here across, and then this side went over here, where this one just branches off. But the main reason for doing it is the stud was broke, and I wanted the results to be accurate to what people would be doing if they was doing a PI intake and cam swap on their car. So there's that. Well, guys, perfect scenario where you keep old plug wires laying around. Had a electrical issue I could not figure out. Changed out the coil packs. It was still doing it. Props to VMS, they're still running strong. We'll put my VMS back on there, but I am definitely not getting rid of these Ford ones. So everything was good, and then I just went around, started pulling injectors, and I noticed on this back one, when I pulled the injector plug, that there was no change in the way the car idled. It was idling like crap. So plugged the injector back in, and I pulled that with it running, and the sparks was coming out of the side of the tube onto the head, wasn't even coming down. So I had a hole in my boot. I don't know how it developed after an hour of driving. I guess it just burnt through, I don't know. But I changed the wire, started up the car, everything's great now. So it's just one simple thing, and it just happened to me when I did my intake swap, so I was kind of panicking there, like, oh God, something's wrong. But everything's good. So I'm gonna get this cleaned up and get ready for dyno day. Yeah. Well, guys, turned out to be a nice day. Today is dyno day, and I am here at Pitbull Performance. I'm gonna get this thing on the dyno and see what it's gonna do. So plot twist, my back tires was a little bit more dry rotted than what Vinny wanted. So I'm here grabbing a pair of tires. Got a brand new pair going on the back, so we'll go over there and try that again. Alright guys, we're back at Pitbull. They was able to fit me back in. Car's on the dyno. I'm hoping for at least 220. We'll see. Alright, 208 and 257 torque. See if there's any difference. Where did they go? Alright guys, I just wanted to discuss a few things. It's raining today. I had to take the Acadia for front end alignment, so I just figured I would finish up this video sitting right here in the Acadia in the rain. I just wanted to go over the numbers real quick. They was 12 horsepower less than what I expected to make. Now, in the grand scheme of things, there's so many variables that it could be possibly making that. One of his correction factors, the car made 218. So, but I told him just to go with what he thought was the most accurate one, and he said it's a heartbreaker dyno. It has something about smart learning, so it reads the humidity and everything, and it adjusts for all this stuff. So supposedly whatever you make on anyway, so whatever you make like on a 100-degree day, you'll make the same horsepower on like a 40-degree day, according to him. So I don't know about all that. And there's also the fact that I have an automatic. So if the average parasitic loss that they count for is 20% for an automatic, 15% for a manual. So that's a 5% difference. If you add 5% to 208, it's 218 horsepower. So there's that. And also the people's telling me my back tires could be an issue because I have a bigger sidewall. There's so many variables.
So I'm not really called up on the numbers, but I did want to see that 220 number. I mean, I don't know. Like, I know they don't mean a lot, but to me, that's just what I was hoping to see. I can tell you the car feels a lot faster than 208 horsepower. My Fox body made 300 horsepower, 330 foot-pounds of torque, and this car feels just as quick, I would say. No, it's not a 300 horsepower car, but I also do have, you know, 200 pounds or more taken out of the car. So there's that factor. So I realize now that I've said so like 75 times, and that's very aggravating to me. I don't really. I don't really expect a whole lot out of this with no tune. The car doesn't really realize that it went from a 468 lift to a 522 lift because it's still thinking it's still got this cam in it. It hasn't been tuned for it. It hasn't been tuned for the PI intake. It hasn't been tuned for all this stuff. So just the can tune um, does not pick up these factors and tune specifically for them. With a tune, I should see about 230 to 240 from what people are telling me. I'm not writing any of this in stone or anything else, but 208 horsepower, 256 foot-pounds of torque. Um, I did have somebody tell me on a different dyno it would probably be 220 and 280 foot-pounds of torque. I don't know. Like I said, I just take it with a grain of salt. It's just numbers right now. But once I get the tune and get the nitrous on there, then I'll probably be looking for some numbers. I'm not looking for a super race car. I'm looking for something fun. So 300 to 330 horsepower would be amazing to me. 350, that would be great. So with a tune, with a nitrous hit, 100 shot, you know, I could be there. Could be worth it. So that's all I'm going for right now. So I appreciate y'all for watching. Hope it didn't disappoint any of y'all. Just remember, a stock NPI car usually dynos around 180 horsepower. So I can put up some sheets here. A stock PI car usually dynos around 230 horsepower. Stock automatic PI car usually around 220. So take it with what you want, but that's the results. Thank you for watching. It's Horseplay.